When you are installing Spire, either for the first time or when upgrading to a new version, this first requires installation of the server administrator. The Spire server license must be created and accessed in order to prepare company data and users, and a separate client installation is required for running Spire from a desktop workstation. This video is not intended to cover all the technical aspects of configuring your workstation and server environments, along with optimizing required permissions and rights. Instead, it is simply to highlight the steps that occur when performing a new Spire installation. After you have downloaded the Spire installation files, you can run it as with any standard Windows install, as long as you have program install rights. You might choose to only install the server administration program, or additionally, you could include the desktop client program immediately afterwards. Choose the location where you want to install the Spire server. The next step is for the SQL Database Manager program, PostgreSQL, to be installed, or to skip it if it is already there. Unless you are aware of another program that uses and has installed this SQL Database Manager, it is recommended to include this as part of the Spire install. Then indicate a location for where to install the database, which should be a fast drive for data access. This screen also has an option for restoring Spire user accounts, in case you are migrating from an old server. If you have a database access tool such as pgadmin that uses Postgres, then you would need to create a Postgres database superuser password. This password is critical, as database tools would have the ability to write to your company data. The next setting is the API server port location, which does not need to be changed from the default 10.880 value. The next setting is regarding firewall access to your network for Spire. Unless you know how to do this manually, it is recommended to include these. The next screen requests the collection of anonymous diagnostic information if errors in Spire occur, that could be useful for the purpose of Spire program development and stability. There is no personal or company data exposure, and it is hoped that this collection would be enabled. You can choose which start menu to have Spire shortcuts created in, where the default folder name is Spire. And finally, there is an additional tasks screen if there are any other installations you want to include after this. Typically, you would want to include Spire Desktop if you are installing from a workstation that will also have Spire access, though you could do this separately later on if desired. Then you will see the Ready to Install screen with a list of all your choices, and you can start the process. The installation will proceed with all the required files, which will take a couple of minutes to complete. If you chose to install Spire Desktop, a shortcut will be created on the desktop. You can then click Finish to exit setup and end the installation process. After Spire programs have been installed, and before you can start using them, you first have to create an administration user and register your company with Spire. As part of the installation process, you will be presented with a setup screen for the Spire administrator account, which creates the first user with admin-level access to Spire programs and your company data. Other admin and regular users can be created later. All information on this screen is required, including the username and password, which is also used to log into Spire. You next have to activate the software and register a license within Spire Central. If you have never used Spire before, you would open the Sign Up tab. Use either your email to create the registration, or Google if your email account is connected to Gmail. The account here is different than the one you used for the server admin setup, so you might choose to use a different email or password. Continuing from here will initiate a verification process through email, where a link is provided to verify your account. When that connection has been made successfully, you can follow another link to log into Spire Central and enter registration information for your company account with Spire. If you have previously registered with Spire Central, and your installation is perhaps to reinstall to a new server, you should instead use the Login tab to enter your credentials, either with an email and password or Google. Logging in will take you to a Select Hostname screen. This will allow you to reselect a previously used Spire connection associated with your account instead of creating a new one. After the Spire Central connection is complete, the next step is the creation of an SSL certificate to confirm an authenticated connection to Spire Server, which can take a few moments. When this is done, you can then use your Spire administrator username and password to sign into the Spire Server administration to get started with creating other user accounts and initiating company data. If you are installing a Spire version upgrade on top of an existing version, this is a much simpler process, without needing to create a new registration or license. You will get the screen to select the install location, which should be the same place. This is followed by the request for enabling data collection diagnostics and installing the new Spire desktop as an additional task. Then you can install. The installation of the Spire desktop application to the workstation is also quite straightforward. You'll be asked for the location to install the desktop files, followed by the request for enabling data collection diagnostics and installing the new Spire desktop as an additional task. Then you can install. If you would like more information about Spire accounting, access the link in the description below to our homepage. Read the online manual help for additional assistance. Watch more videos from this playlist, and subscribe to the Spire YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.